Hey, yo, what's the deal? It's your boy Tag from Pro Wrestling Tag. You know what I mean? As of this recording right now, it is 1:44 p.m., June 24th, 2025. This is the third video of the day. You know what I mean? And I definitely will be coming with another video tonight. I don't know what I'm going to be talking about tonight. You know what I mean? But I will be coming up with something. For real. Because it's fucking hot than a motherfucker. Let me sip some water because it's fucking hot. Oh. Not like good cold water. Not like that cold water, son. You know what I mean? It's not like that smart water. You know what I mean? I'm drinking some smart water. That and some Fiji. You know what I'm saying? I actually like Pure Life. You know, I miss Pure Life. I miss that water, but fuck it, what can you do? You know, I definitely want to talk about this video because, you know, as I was talking to you guys about AEW and, you know, what they got planned and, you know, with some belts and such, I started thinking about something, right? I started talking about Collision. And we know Collision is bad television, especially on Saturday nights. And it had me thinking, you know, this had me thinking hard body. You know, I was a fan of WCW when they existed. I was a big fan. You know what I mean? Like, there was something about WCW that was just different. It hit different. You know what I mean? And so with WCW, you know, they were able to do things that separated themselves away from WWE, right? No matter if it's the style of wrestling, the production, the shows, and such, especially the shows. And they clearly gave you some good content, even when they transitioned into other aspects of their program. Let me tell you what I mean, right? So, remember when I told you that WCW Saturday Night was basically like, it was WCW's at that time when Nitro. So, okay, when WCW Nitro existed, right? All the important storylines and all the big name talent wound up going right to Nitro, prime time and everything, right? And then, Saturday Night. Saturday night, it still had, some important stuff, but they started adding things that was from the C shows, right? But they had stuff from the A shows, from the A shows and such, and it is fucking crazy, 95 degrees. They had stuff from the A shows, but it wound up being a combination of A show stuff, B show stuff, and C show stuff, right? And I say it because mind you, like you had the NWO wrestling there on Saturday nights and such, right? I mean, Hulk Hogan wound up, I think he wound up making, yeah, he did wound up making appearances and such, of course. But of course, you guys know all that changed around 98, 1997, 98 when Thunder came. And that started being WCW's counterpart program to Nitro. Right? Basically leaving WCW Saturday Night, with B and C show talent. Well, actually, I say, okay, B show. So my thing was this, right? So B show, when I talk about A show and C and B show and shit, right? Thunder wound up being, some people say that Raw is the A show and SmackDown's the B show, but I would say A plus and A. Right, Raw is A plus, SmackDown is A. They're in that tier, right? Nitro and Thunder was basically that. Nitro was, A plus, Thunder was A. Leaving, Saturday night, shows like Saturday Night and Worldwide to be like the B and the C shows, right? B and C shows. And so, looking back at those shows, right, had me thinking, and of course WWE did that with Sunday Night Heat and Shotgun Saturday Night. Had me thinking, the shows there, on Saturday night and such was a lot more entertaining, than what the fuck you getting in Collision, right? Because Collision is garbage television. It's trash television. I would rather be more entertained with WCW Saturday Night from 1999 than an episode of Collision in 2025. Because With Collision 2025, there's nothing there. There's nothing there in that show. Nothing. They don't give you nothing. It's just pure wrestling and such. At least with WCW Saturday Night, they added talent from Worldwide and Pro. Well, they had took Pro away, but from WCW Worldwide and Saturday Night, you know what I mean? And they gave you some quality shit. And also they had talent from the power plant, right? What the fuck does AEW Collision offer? What, you offer people who you have under contract who don't even show up on Dynamite, who don't even book on Dynamite, and you got them, you got people there wrestling there, jobbing, mind you, jobbing. And then you also have people from Ring of Honor there, jobbing as well. I'm like, there's nothing there. It's just a pure wrestling show. It's nothing there. You know what I mean? It's basically nothing there. This Collision reminds me more of WWE superstars, WWF, WWE main event than anything else. That's the vibe that Collision gives me. You know what I'm saying? And like I mentioned before, like they fucked up with Rampage. You know what I mean? They could have done something with Rampage, but they didn't do it. They did not do it. You know what I mean? And so this is why, this is why the program is in this shit that is in. And WCW Saturday Night, like I said, was very entertaining. Very entertaining. They also had, people from the indies and such, but they weren't, but the thing with WCW Saturday Night was that, again, there were more enhancement talents, there were more ham and egg talents, there were more, hands, power plant people and such, and developmental people, as opposed to indie guys. It's just, that was the difference. That was the pure difference. You know what I mean? And yes, would I have loved to see some of them in WCW programming? Yeah, of course. And on WWE program, of course. We did. We definitely did. But there was a lot more entertaining. And the cherry on top, the time slot made it even better. The time slot. So Saturday night came on at 6:05 p.m. Eastern, right? 6:05 p.m. As opposed to Collision, where it was 8 p.m. At that time, what was so beautiful about WCW Saturday Night was that not only the wrestling, but you could watch it while killing time. Because once 8 p.m. hit, you got the rest of the day for yourself. You can go out with your friends, go have dinner with your girl, go to the movies, do whatever you need, go out to a party, do whatever the fuck you need to do. And you can record it. You can fucking record it. You can record it as opposed to what Collision does. You can't even do that shit with Collision, B. You can't. Collision doesn't offer that. Collision doesn't offer none of that. I would never sit down on a fucking Saturday night to watch, fucking Collision, especially with the summertime approaching. Like, come on, man. Now they're talking about wanting to move Collision to Thursday nights and such, right? Like, that's going to make a difference. Nobody's even going to watch Collision. Nobody's going to watch it. You know what? You're going to go up against TNA. Like I said before, WWE is going to load up TNA shows with talent. You know what I mean? Because they're going to do everything the fuck that they have to do to hurt AEW. And they're doing a good job at it. They're doing a great fucking job at it. You know what I mean? Like I said, Saturday night, I remember those days, man. Downtown, when I was in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. Saturday night, 6:05 p.m. Eastern, right? Had my VCR. I would record it along with, Shotgun Saturday Night while I'm downtown Brooklyn fucking with this girl named, this girl named Casey, right? Some brown-skinned girl. Beautiful girl, right? Beautiful girl. What the fuck? Beautiful girl. Like we would go right there to BBQs. You know what I mean? Like we would chill. You know what I mean? And such. And when I got home, took the 4 train back home. When I got home, went to the Chinese restaurant. I went to the bodega, got me a tropical fantasy or a CNC soda. Go to the Chinese restaurant. You know what I mean? and then watch what I recorded. And also remember, ECW was on too. You know what I mean? Like those were fun times. You can't do that with AEW Collision. You fucking can't. You can't. You can't. The thing with AEW, what Tony Khan's problem is, he's trying to recreate WCW in a big arena way, but there's a certain magic that you don't have. There's certain magic that's there that you will never get back. AEW will never be WCW. Not by a long shot. Ever. And rest in peace to WCW, because Saturday night was different. I'm about to be out, guys. You know what I'm saying? I will be coming with another video tonight for sure. You know what I mean? So I'm going to definitely holler at y'all. Peace.